On this vote, the yeas are 70, the nays are 29. The bill, as amended, passes.
President Trump were to withdraw from or pause financial support for the war in Ukraine in order to bring the conflict to a peaceful conclusion over the objections of career experts, it would amount to the same fake violation of budget law from the first impeachment under markedly similar facts and circumstances. You can say whatever you want. Out of all of the candidates in this field, the most clearly against foreign intervention is Donald Trump. This, I guess, should we call this the secret plot to it's not really secret to take out Donald Trump. Are you aware of this with this
Yet another plot to take out Donald Trump? Maybe that's the way?
Exactly. But another plot that's just a repeat, because they've already impeached him, by the way,
It's part two.
For Ukraine-related activities, basically saying, hey, I line up with the American people, and I don't think that we should be giving effectively no-bid contracts to weapons manufacturers with no IOU in sight. So this is what's going on. Remember the border bill? What was the border bill called? I think it was called the border bill.
It was called the border bill.
Yeah, well, now it's pretty much the same thing, only there's no border.
No. It's now called the national security.
Right, because they removed the border.
None of the money is staying in the United States, but it's national security bill.
Well, how else are we going to be safe unless we send more weapons and money to Ukraine?
To the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Maybe separate ourselves with an ocean and a whole continent, but
well, you know what? These are come on, details.
These are trying times. It's a new time.
National security.
We got to go macro. How are we going to stay safe unless we intercede with Ukraine? So, things are not looking, I'm miserable. They're not looking good for former Vice President Joe Biden. Donald Trump, and this is why you're seeing this right now, dominating in swing states. He has an 11-point lead on the handling of the economy. 86% of voters say that former Vice President Biden is too old to be president. And as we showed you last week with CNN saying, well, this impeachment hearing right now could determine the next president of the United States. The left believes that if Donald Trump is the candidate, they believe that they lose. They are gearing up for that, calling it. They're gearing up for it, and all of a sudden, watch. If Donald Trump wins, there is going to be questioning of the legitimacy of the election. There are going to be, it's going to be a referendum on the impeachments if he's actually allowed to hold office. So what's happening right now is they're already putting contingency plans in place, and that's what this bill is. So early this morning, really early this morning, because we get up early.
Yeah. They had like a filibuster, I think, last night from, what was it, Rand Paul?
Yep.
Doing that, so.
They approved the $95 billion National Security Act bill, which, of course, again, includes $60 billion for, and just to be clear, when I say $60 billion for Ukraine, it's not $60 billion for Ukraine. It's $60 billion for defense and weapons contractors.
What?
Who get this money. Raytheon, right, these companies that are owned by BlackRock. And we're actually going to do a segment fact-checking the Robert Kennedy Jr.,
Yeah.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I have to do the whole name.
I mean,
because he got fact-checked by Instagram or Twitter, labeled misinformation, where he discussed this.
yeah.
And they just admitted it on CNN this morning at around 8:40 a.m. Eastern. That, to be clear, this bill will go to American defense contractors. Then they say that you're being conspiratorial. So $60 billion to Ukraine is $60 billion to private corporations who have these guaranteed no-bid contracts, and they never obviously have to pay it back. Just to be clear. And by the way, they get the $60 billion. You know why? Because they need to make more. They need to make more weapons and bombs because they've sold so much to Ukraine. Isn't that a brilliant
we gave away
business
all the stuff
model?
that we had?
Yes.
Come on.
We gave away a lot of the stuff that we had, and so we need to make more. And so here you go, Raytheon. So this is the bill, and here's a clip of it being passed here this morning.
On this vote, the yeas are 70, the nays are 29. The bill, as amended, passes.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could we please have some order? Well, Mr. President, it's been a long night, a long weekend, and a long few months. But a new day is here, and our efforts have been more than worth it. Today, we witnessed one of the most historic and consequential bills to have ever passed the Senate.
Oh, my God.
On audio, that makes no sense. To those on video, it's spot on.
It is accurate.
Forgot we were going to do that.
So 22 Republicans supported this bill.
I don't know what happened. It just looked like Chuck Schumer the whole time.
To which I say, who?
Who was that?
All right. The bill passed 70 to 29, 22 Republicans. Hey, who could they be? Oh, who could they be? John Cornyn, John Kennedy, Mitt Romney,
John Kennedy, I thought they killed that guy.
Is the one who wasn't in
Kennedy.
a convertible limousine.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
And then, that's right, Mitch McConnell. And just in case, and all references are available at lighterwithcrowder.com. We put the link in the description for every single episode. You have a bibliography. In case you've been gaslit effectively, don't be made to think that you're being conspiratorial because McConnell said that the funding for Ukraine actually goes to the American defense industry.
So here's the plain truth. The overwhelming majority
Horrible.
of the resources approved by the Senate as security assistance for Ukraine has in fact gone directly to American manufacturers, supporting
you hold
American
stock in.
jobs,
Yep.
expanding the American industrial base, and producing new weapons
New whip.
for America's military.
Oh,
I say that money is going.
America's military and Ukraine, I crane, we all crane.
and just think, well, you know what? First, I want to go to Mitt Romney, who said this is the most, and then I want to talk about McConnell. Mitt Romney, who sucks, said
Still.
this is the most important vote in the history of the world.
The vote we will soon take to provide military weapons for Ukraine is the most important vote we will ever take as United States senators.
For your bank account.
Wasn't
Hold
he
on,
there
hold
during 9/11?
Yeah, he was in Tower 7.
What was the accent?
The plunger.
What was that accent?
Yeah, what was that accent? Can you play that again? Now he's doing a
United
southern
States
accent, Mitt Romney?
Senators.
Was he from
The
Georgia?
vote we will soon take
Huh?
to provide military weapons for
Military
Ukraine
weapons.
is the most important vote we will ever take as United States senators.
As United States senators, shut up.
Senators.
Oh, my gosh.
Massachusetts, Michigan, Utah. None of those accents.
No, none of those
none of
accents
those,
make
right?
sense. Well,
No,
they do
no.
if you're a fraud. So when we're talking about Mitch McConnell, he says, there's been expanding the American industrial base. You know what else might be? You know what might be expanding the American industrial base? For example, allowing small landlords to stay in business. But no, that's right. You provided renters forgiveness and put landlords out of business, right? So that all of these individual properties could be purchased by BlackRock and Vanguard. You know what else might help? For example, might be, restaurants or local shops, mom and pop shops who were closed down during COVID. People weren't allowed to visit them. But you could go to Home Depot and you could go to the weed stores, who, by the way, a huge interest in a lot of these weed stores are giant pharmaceutical companies and foreign actors, to be clear. So when they talk about expanding the American industrial base, hey, you get bailouts to the big three. Hey, you get these are constant, never-ending, effectively, bailouts or no-bid contracts to American defense contractors. Oil, all energy companies, not just oil, to be clear. It's not big oil bad, but Solyndra, green energy companies. Obamacare ended up being the biggest kickback to the health insurance industry that we've seen in our lifetime. Bailouts to the airlines. Why does expanding the American industrial manufacturing base not include you? So what it means is, yep, Boeing, when we're talking about Raytheon, BlackRock,
Northrop
American Airlines, Aetna, whoever inserted here, GM, Ford. It doesn't include someone who maybe owns 5 to 10 rental properties and can't boot those people who aren't paying their rent. It doesn't include the people who own restaurants or local coffee shops or maybe a local bodega or gas station. It never includes you. At a certain point, so what's the scale? You have to be a multi-billion-dollar company who only suckles at the government teat? This is why there's such a big difference between you and the swamp. That's what we're talking about. Hey, did you elect Raytheon? Did you elect the UAW? Because they're getting your billions while you're put out of work.
Yeah. I wish they would support people building a wall. If he really thinks that this is the most consequential, the most important vote that they will take as U.S. senators in their entire career, he doesn't understand the invasion that is happening in this country when 3+ million people came over. We're already at almost 1 million this year coming into this country illegally. Like, that will be the most important vote.
I think he
period.
understands it. I think these people understand it, and the people who support open borders and the current immigration policy that we have are the giant corporations who stand to benefit the most.
Yeah.
And they want to make you feel guilty for having someone, who mows your lawn. Maybe they don't have papers. Meanwhile, they benefit from the artificially deflated labor market.
Yeah.
And having they get to pay slave wages.
It reminds me of that Gangs of New York scene when all the Irish come off the boat. And then he's like, oh, yeah, get over the polls. We'll get you like $5 each or whatever.
Right. That's where Daniel Day-Lewis was the same as There Will Be Blood, only in a different movie. Yes. I'm the butcher.
Yeah, but he's a really good actor.
Yeah, he's.
I was told.
Like, hey, what are you in this one? I'm an oil man.
But he said the N-word, Stephen. That's like Oscar worthy.
What are you in this one? I'm a Native American. I'm the last of the Mohicans. Third Oscar. So, Josh.
Not in that order.
Josh Hawley was actually one of the most pissed Republicans regarding this. But here, let's watch it.
I told them that if they would do this, that South Carolina would wrap their arms around them and take care of them. I now officially work for you. There is nothing that you can need that we won't make sure that we deliver.
Sorry, other right clip. Here's Hawley.
And I have listened carefully to colleague after colleague of mine come to this floor and stand where I am now and say, it's so important that we spend this money on these overseas wars. We must spend the money. If we don't spend this money now, why, it may cost us more money in the future. No, it's imperative. It's imperative that we spend this money. Meanwhile, these same people turn to the citizens of Missouri and say, you're not worth a dime. They say, you can't have a penny. They turn to the residents of Kentucky and Tennessee and Alaska and New Mexico and Arizona and Utah and Texas, and they say, we don't care that you are poisoned. We don't have a dime for you. We have unlimited money for Ukraine. We're going to rebuild the borders of Ukraine. That's in this bill, but we don't have anything for you.
So this one actually, unlike the other bill, has a chance to make it through the House, but Speaker Johnson, who's been impressing me more and more, he doesn't care.
No.
I appreciate it about him.
He's doing much better than I thought.
Yeah. He signaled that he would move to stop the bill. He said in the absence of having received any single border policy change from the Senate, the House will have to continue to work its own will on these important matters. And by the way, at least half of Republicans think that the United States is doing too much to support Ukraine, and only 13% believe that more aid should be given. So let's keep that in mind. You have all these Republicans, well, period, let's just say Senate, House, whoever it is, these some elected, some unelected officials, right? That's the swamp, saying you absolutely have to. This is the most important bill ever. This is the most important vote ever. This is what we need to do as Americans. Well, Americans aren't buying it.
No.
We're saying, hey, this should never be an open-ended tab to Ukraine.
No, and especially with the interview that Tucker Carlson did with Vladimir Putin and the allegations that there have been peace talks that have been cut off by Boris Johnson and the United States.
Yes.
Why? Whose interest is...
By the way, that is absolutely true. You can see that. There's a record of it. It wasn't just him saying it. He may have lied about other things. That is 100% verifiably true.
Yeah. So, I mean, why do you have a vested interest in keeping this going? Oh, you want to degrade the military capacity of Russia by slaughtering Ukrainian citizens? Hundreds of thousands? Like, you think that's a goal that we should be aiming for right now instead of having peace over there?
Yeah, let's keep the money going. So they gotta pay those guys that are going into houses and pulling men out and throwing them in vans and trucks and making them go serve. What's it called?
Yeah, exactly.
Conserving or something like
That's
that.
what Russia used to do. They
conscripting. They're conscripting men.
you.
What a fun place to live, and they don't have elections now.
Yeah.
What a cool place to fund.
Well, they're on pause. Election.
Oh, just until the war's over.
Yeah, we hit the pause button.
Guaranteed a list until 2026. What was it?
Well, yeah, so here's actually what's hidden in the bill. And comment below if you knew about this. And smash the Rumble button, hit like, whatever you can do, because the algorithm definitely doesn't want you to
they hate us.
learn about this.
Not Rumble, the other guys.
The bill has basically a kind of a fuse, a time bomb, set to go off during what would be a Donald Trump presidency. Let's be clear about it. The only person, by the way, who has vocally been, at least on a national level, vehemently opposing more funding to the Ukraine. So they try and make him look like an extremist, but here's the point. You're all extremists because you don't believe that we should be spending, I guess, probably the first 5, 10 billion, sure. 50 billion, shame on you. 70 billion, okay, shame on me. And then 120 billion, well, it's just enough shame to go around now. I don't know what we're up to now. Is it committed over 150 billion as far as Ukraine?
I think it is. With this,
over 150.
If this passes, this hasn't passed. Obviously, it just went through the Senate. It's got to go through the House. There's still a lot to do. But
so this is what they want to do. And keep in mind, the reason for this is because they want to paint Donald Trump as an extremist, and they've already impeached him for opposing some funding in Ukraine. J.D. Vance was the one who sounded the alarm Monday morning in a memo to the Senate GOP offices. He said, these funds expire on September 30th, 2025, nearly a year into the possible second term of President Trump. If President Trump were to withdraw from or pause financial support for the war in Ukraine in order to bring the conflict to a peaceful conclusion over the objections of career experts. It would amount to the same fake violation of budget law from the first impeachment under markedly similar facts and circumstances. And here's the portion that he's referring to. That of the total amount provided under this heading in this act, 13, look at this, it's just crazy when you see these numbers on a paper, $13,772,460,000 to remain available until September 30th, 2025, shall be for the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. And again, keep in mind, listening to Mitch McConnell, what that really means is money to defense contractors. So let's go through some of the claims and the truth here, because this is important. We already know that there's no funding for the border because they don't care about you. Here's the media claim. And when they make these claims, they're trying to make it about you and us here. Yeah. That J.D. Vance is just some crazy conspiracy nut job. Here's the Washington Post headline. It says, J.D. Vance's sloppy effort to turn MAGA world against Ukraine funding. That's what they do. Remember, they tried to do it with Carrie Lake. It's, I can't believe she would record somebody. It's what they tried to do with us in the Nashville Manifesto. And then they tried to do it with the Chippewa Falls. They try and attack the messenger. It's a tale as old as time. It's a tactic they've been using. Andrew Breitbart talked about this. Saul Alinsky 101, attack the credibility of the messenger, even if the message is true. Here's the truth. President Trump was already impeached over an aid issue with Ukraine in 2019. They accused him of withholding aid for quid pro quo with Zelensky, right? And so they tried to say, this is obstruction of Congress. Well, hold on a second. What if Donald Trump wants to, for example, make the financial aid conditional on peace negotiations? Yeah. Which has not been a term here.
At least trying.
Yeah,
he says
at least trying.
24 hours. That means he's trying to get the negotiation going, right?
Right. Yeah. And what will happen is they'll say, he's a stooge for Putin. Well, are you a stooge for Raytheon? Or Boeing? What's the other big defense contractor?
Yeah. Northrop Grumman is
That's a big one.
As well. Yeah.
Why is only one person a stooge if they want peace talks, where, by the way, individual contractors don't stand to make tens of billions of dollars? Hey, we've been doing it one way, and you can say whatever you want. Out of all of the candidates in this field, the most clearly against foreign intervention is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is, this is set to expire. And if he says, all right, now it's time to maybe change our approach, we've given, I don't know at that point in time how many hundreds of billions, or certainly well over 150 billion if this passes, to Ukraine. He says, let's try it a different way. They say, we're going to impeach you because you're acting outside of your authority. He does technically have the authority, well, at least some maneuvers there. They're setting him up for failure.
They're trying to tie his hands.
Because they want to be able to remove him from office.
Yeah, they want to distract him. The Russia stuff, they never thought that they were actually, in my mind, I don't think they ever thought they were going to get anywhere with it other than distracting him and making him look bad to the public. The same thing with trying to impeach him over the Zelensky call with aid to Ukraine. I don't think they ever thought that they were going to really fully get rid of Donald Trump with that. It was a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
All these lawsuits against him right now.
Yeah. I don't know. If you ask most people what was Donald Trump impeached for, they couldn't tell you.
No.
Which time?
Because of the Russia, well, you don't even know what you're talking about.
And it's so funny that they try and act like you are the only one who wants to interfere with democratically held elections. Like, really? You just want to jail the person who the people vote for.
Yeah. The 25th Amendment has never needed to be invoked more, I think, than right now.
Here's another truth, by the way. The Democrats have openly stated, again, you're crazy conspiracy theorists, that they want to, quote unquote, Trump-proof Ukraine aid. So here is actually them discussing Ukraine funding last month. Here's from Washington Post. A U.S. official said the hope is that the long-term promise will also, quote, future-proof aid for Ukraine against the possibility that former President Donald Trump wins his re-election bid. They're really, really scared that Donald Trump will be the nominee, and they're really, really scared that he'll win the election. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
Look, this is just look at what don't look at what the enemy is saying. Look at what they are doing. They are trying to put every contingency plan in place to prevent him from being the nominee, and then to remove him from office or to handicap him while he is in office. There's not a lot of planning for the electoral map. You notice that? There's not a lot of canvassing and groundwork. It's make sure he's not the nominee. If he's the nominee, he's very likely going to win. Then all of their efforts seem to be spent on a Trump administration. Yeah. Not a lot on the in-between. That should tell you quite a bit. And future-proofing Ukraine, by the way, is the administration's priority, right after Biden proving the White House, which is what they're doing right now.
Oh, geez.
I believe. Yeah. Probably should have been a scrapyard, but we did it anyway.
Gave it a whirl.
So what's happening right now is, let's recap this. This is how desperate they are, right? They look to November, and they seem to think it looks like Donald Trump will win in November if he actually is a candidate.
Yeah.
So what's happening is you have former Vice President Biden failing. people obviously want to change. Donald Trump is doing incredibly well if you look at the polls, certainly on the economy. And, of course, they always have this in the back of their mind, the secret vote, the secret Trump voter. So if he's doing okay in the polls, historically means that he's typically doing better than in the polls.
Yep.
They can't stop Donald Trump. They're going to try and remove his ability to govern at all. It's try and prevent him from being the nominee. Why? Well, and the reason why is for the same views that you hold, to be clear. They're not trying to stop him for mean tweets. That's what they say. They're trying to stop him because career politicians and their no-bid contractors stand to lose tens of billions of dollars, which, by the way, is the same view that you share. Even if you hate Donald Trump, the reasons they hate him are the same reasons that they hate you. It's not because of mean tweets. It's not because he says things that rub people the wrong way. It's because he's the only person who runs the risk of stopping the gravy train for these folks.
Yeah, and even when he says something right about NATO recently, where he said, basically, if you haven't paid your 2% and you get invaded, or you want us to come? Like, no, sorry, we're not coming to your aid if you haven't paid up. And basically, that's Donald Trump negotiating and saying, hey, I'm throwing out a line here saying, if you don't start paying your bills, there will be consequences. And he even went so far as to say, I might encourage somebody to invade you if you haven't paid your tab. He's being bombastic. And they go out and they're like, Donald Trump is causing NATO to fall apart, and NATO is looking to. That's
so
exactly
the outrage is the reaction. I think Mission Control, bring this up. The agreement with these NATO nations is to pay 2%, I believe, of their GDP.
There's a chart.
Yeah, 2%. And the average payment, I believe, was 0.9%. There were only, I believe, there were only 3 other nations that hit their 2% tab. At some points, we were paying 4%
because of Donald Trump.
There were more because of Donald Trump. For the first time, they said, "Oh my gosh, we shouldn't be allowing the United States to foot the bill for everybody." Where is the outrage over nations saying we need protection here in this area of Europe? Okay, fine. Here's NATO. Okay, the United States is going to be a part of this, even though we stand to. You can get to post-Cold War. Okay, fine. But at this point in time, we are the least at risk when you look at the reason for the NATO alliance, and we are the ones paying in the most. No outrage for decades, and then outrage over a guy calling it out. This is what happens. He goes, everyone better pay their fair share, otherwise we're not going to protect you. Well, why wouldn't you protect them? Because they're cheap bastards. They're only paying 0.6%. Hey, that draws attention to the fact that we are footing the bill for the rest of the world. This is not hate. You want to protect your country? Good. Pay in. Aesop's fables. The ant who saved, I believe it was the ant who saved for a rainy day. Was it the ant and the grasshopper? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of A Bug's Life.
Yeah, dancing all day. There's a thing about it.
There's a whole thing.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Bug's Life.
All these lessons. I'm pretty sure there's an Aesop fable as well.
There's a child's thing on Cocomelon that I've seen, unfortunately.
Could be. Next to the drag queen. But this government.
I think that was Doug. It
does everything that your parents told you not to do. Look before you leap. Plan before. No, they don't do that. Let's just toss another $100 billion at it. Hey, save for a rainy day. No, let's spend more than we have and continue spending more than we have. Hey, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You need to be responsible. You need to be accountable for your own actions. No, these nations can go decades without paying into NATO what they're supposed to pay, and then we foot the bill. Everything that you have been taught, this is the difference. It's not just left versus right, but the left is on the incorrect side of right versus wrong today, right now, on nearly every issue, unequivocally. Think about that for a second. Any of you have parents who say, go out, okay, spend more than you make, don't take responsibility or accountability for your own family, leave it in the hands of government, and make rash decisions with huge financial consequences. Also, be sexually irresponsible and demand free birth control. And you know what? You'll probably be happier if you put yourself into debt for a humanities degree. Anyone have family? Anyone been taught that? Because that's a matter of policy from the left. Every single issue they're wrong on.
Yeah, we have that chart, by the way, really quickly. So
the NATO chart?
Yeah, the NATO chart. I believe the spending. Pull it up. Pull it up. Look at that. Now there's a handful of additional countries there, and Poland has recently done that because Poland is scared crapless right now that Russia is coming after them.
I can't see the numbers.
So Poland's at the very top with 3.9%, 3.5% United States. But I think the United Kingdom is the only other Western type country that has.
Yeah, and but this is the new chart. We should have
It's
the
the
chart
newest one, yeah.
pre-Donald Trump, which was
this is 2023 numbers.
yeah, very, very few
Pull that
people.
chart back up. Pull that
Hey,
chart back
shout
up.
out to the countries that are actually putting in.
Here we go.
They
Here
should
we
get
go.
rewards or
They
something.
should. They're like,
All 10 of
us
them?
coming to their aid when they get attacked. You know who's not? The people who you would think would be most. The people who have gotten taken over before. How about that?
Send them
France, they're not
Christmas
doing it.
card.
Germany, they're not doing it. Like those are the two countries where it's like you got to pay in. And by the way, other countries that should absolutely do that: Netherlands, Norway, Bulgaria, Denmark. You're not doing a thing if anybody else tries to come and take you over.
I would go further than Donald Trump. We're not only not going to protect you if you're not paying in the amount that you have to right now, but until you take care of the back pay.
Yeah. How many years have you not done this correctly?
Yeah.
Fix it.
We do the same thing for medical innovations.
There's
by the way,
2% in there somewhere. Find it.
You look at the drugs that are invented in the United States, or you look at medical interventions that are invented in the United States. Also, other countries can have socialized healthcare, and their research and development becomes inert.
So 2015, I think it looks like about 7 countries were paying more. And so it's Greece, United States, Lithuania, Poland, United Kingdom, Estonia. Good job, Estonia.
Good job, Greece. Their economy was terrible.
And Latvia.
That's why they paid
I didn't
less.
name Spain, Italy, France, Germany, like the big countries that would be like, of course these guys, of course France, who basically gets their butts kicked every time somebody sneezes in a war in Europe. Of course France would do that. They don't.
Just want to clarify, the light blue is 2014, so at that point only 3 countries.
Oh,
only
great.
3 countries.
Great.
Think about that. Hey, let's just do. Why doesn't it go both ways? Oh, okay. You want us to Ukraine? Okay. Hey, we will when you send us money to build a wall and protect our border. You know, when you send tens of billions. Hey, how much did you send to us when we were fighting the Taliban? I don't think it was $100 billion. So when you do that, tell you what. Well, what we'll do is we'll take your $60 billion, we'll put it on layaway.
Yep.
When you start owning your own shit, you come over here, you get yourself your $60 bill.
I think that makes sense. Also, you just brought up a really good idea. For every one of your citizens, South American countries or Central American countries that comes to our country illegally, we send you a bill.
Yes.
I think they should be billed for the services. It only makes sense.
Well, that'll just bring more of them here.
No, not if we send the countries the bill.
The country.
Well, the countries might stop.
The countries would
stop
have
them from leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Build your own walls.
Yeah.
That's right.
They like it.
Well, they do. Mexico has a southern wall. They don't want those people getting in there.
No,
That's a very small border, though. That's
it does its whole thing.
Watch Louder with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.